Welcome to the first episode of Scrubbed In, where you join me, Abdul, and Ams as we talk about our journey through medical school, being doctors, life outside of medicine. But we're not just going to talk about medicine. We've got a few things coming up as well.
We're going to speak about publishing in American journals. We're going to talk about going on surgical courses abroad. We're going to talk about sort of making sure we have fun during med school, but also making sure we sort of do very well and get the distinctions and all of that jazz as well. So yeah.
So this is just, us discussing our journey, kind of reminiscing to be fair. And we want you to join our journey. So join in every week as we talk about a different topic and we try to give you some tips and tricks on how to do well in med school and become an amazing junior doctor.
So yeah, let's take it with question one. I think the one question that everyone always asks, especially at the sort of earlier stages, is, Abdul, why does anyone choose medicine? Why did you choose medicine?
Oh, it's some tough questions. I feel like I'm doing my medical school interview again. Why did I do medicine?
It actually is a question in some interviews. But
it is. So I have to probably go back a good 10 years or so.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say there's a good few reasons as to why I did medicine to become a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, off the bat, is just since a kid, I remember I used to always enjoy helping other people.
Yeah.
I used to like to call it, I used to be at the service of others, and I used to get like immense enjoyment from that, and I used to get a lot of satisfaction from helping other people.
Yeah.
And kind of
that's a bit vague though. So what do you mean by helping though? In what sort of way?
Yeah. So I used to enjoy when people had problems. So I was the eldest kid growing up on both my mum and dad's side. Yeah. And I'll be the person they call to help them, build a wardrobe if they need painting done.
Did you do the remote control setup for Sky?
Mate, I did all of it. Do you know what I mean? So they kind of, call upon me to go and help them with my friends. Anyone had issues, problems, I used to go and enjoy solving those.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew medicine, being a doctor, was this like amazing career where you get to help other people, especially the most, people in need. So people that are really unwell. But to be fair, at 14, 15, 16, you don't really know what it entails to be a doctor, as you probably later on discussed.
Exactly, yeah.
But one of the main reasons was I wanted to help other people, and I knew being a doctor was one of those ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know what? I think in a lot of my colleagues who are doctors as well, and just everyone who's become a doctor, you see that natural trait where they enjoy putting a smile on someone else's face. And I think anyone who enjoys that, this is a career that actually is quite, you get a lot of satisfaction from someone becoming really just their problem solved, and they just say the words thank you to you. It just makes your day, doesn't it?
Yeah. But let's be honest, everyone goes into interview and interview's gonna be like, all right mate, why do you want to do medicine, tell me? And everyone's gonna say, I want to help others, I've dreamed of being a doctor since I was 6 or 7. What were the other factors would you say that kind of pushed you forward to become a doctor, to study medicine? It just can't be, I want to help people.
Yeah, I think you have to go back to, GCSE stages and early college years. I think the one thing every single parent, every single sort of child will sort of face is that when you're sort of doing well, when you're sort of academically bright, it's sort of like a default setting, isn't it, that you consider, it's at least to be considered that you do medicine and you become a doctor. A few other things like engineering and law are always open as well. So I think by default, doing well sort of means that, I'm going to try and become a doctor. It wasn't one of the main reasons, but it was one of the things that came into consideration. I did well during my GCSE stage, and one of those things that I wanted to do. But mind you, I didn't do that well, so I was sort of in the middle ground.
Guys, if you knew how smart this guy was.
So I wasn't failing all of my stuff, but I wasn't actually smashing it at that stage. And but it was one of those things I was considering by default. And then I think one of the most important things for me of why I chose medicine was, my parents, I would say, they built a genuinely caring heart. I genuinely care. That's what it is. I genuinely get satisfaction from, like you said, the way you said you wanted to problem solve for others and just sort of fix whatever issue they had. I loved putting a smile on someone's face. I loved sort of solving their issues as well. It sort of ties in with my own startup that we've got, and that's a whole nother story we'll talk about in another episode, I guess. But I love problem solving and just, I guess, putting a smile on someone else's face and
Yeah.
getting them on their way. So
No.
yeah.
I definitely agree, but just going back, I think you mentioned quite an important point. I don't know if any of the viewers kind of experienced this, that are maybe medics or thinking of applying for medicine. It's that whole concept, and I've definitely experienced that as well, where naturally those that kind of get the A stars, the A's at A level, kind of do well in their SATs, it's kind of reserved for them.
Yeah.
Like an unwritten rule of thumb that these top decile students or these guys achieving A stars will naturally become doctors. And I think I don't know how it is, but I feel like in our society it's kind of reserved, so you may not necessarily want to be a doctor. At the end of the day, everyone wants to help, right? It's just not me and you. Everyone wants to help people put a smile on their face. But I think as soon as you start getting the A stars and like doing well in A levels, it's already like, he's going to become a doctor. And it's like as if everyone else or society itself kind of pushes you down this route of, he's going to become a doctor. And then you just become infatuated with the idea or this concept of, I'm creme de la creme, the smartest person in my school. It's a shame, rather, that if I don't pursue medicine, that I've wasted my talent. You've just built up this world of you being a doctor, and at 14, 15, 16, this concept of, I'm going to do such a noble profession, being a doctor is something only a handful of people achieve.
It's such a prestigious thing, isn't it, to become a doctor. Yeah,
and I think, looking back on that, I think what you mentioned is quite key, was like society kind of throws you or pushes you down this route of becoming a doctor. Not that I want people to think I become a doctor because of society and I don't enjoy it. I love being a doctor.
Exactly.
But it's something that, just...
I think, do you think that it's the same now though? So we were 14, 16, in 2005, 6, but let's not expose our age right now. But right now in 2019, I think it's very different. I think high achievers now don't necessarily say, I'm definitely going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I think you've got lots of high achievers who do loads of different things nowadays. What do you think? Do you think it's changed?
I agree. I'd say definitely society has changed a lot. The access that I have to information, everything's available online, really. And I would say a lot of high achievers that, let's say 10 years ago, would have applied to medicine like us, may now not necessarily apply to medicine. They'll probably do stuff like tech, all these other things.
Booming. That's really booming, isn't it?
I think that's quite an interesting point, to be fair.
Interestingly, that links into your startup.
So we'll save all the startups up for later on.
That's all coming. It's all coming.
So I guess we get to do what the young kids are doing now anyway. But I think just going back to why we did medicine, I think for both of us it was just to genuinely help people, put a smile on people's faces, and the path just kind of opens up for you to be a doctor as soon as you get your first few A stars. I think wouldn't you agree?
Mind you, it's still not A stars doesn't equal entry though. That's we've got lots of interesting stories about that. Abdul, so one important thing, right? Lots of people say this, especially about our background. We come from Bangladeshi backgrounds, especially when it comes to sort of the Asian subcontinent. Were you ever peer pressured or parentally pressured into becoming a doctor?
As in, like, my parents forced me to do it.
Say you have to become
for me, I'm fortunate enough, and I don't know what the situation for other people, but I was lucky enough where, first of all, I'll just put it out there, I wanted to be an architect. I really enjoyed these DT and design at school.
Right now?
Not maybe not now.
Junior?
But it's a tempting career, after a night of on calls and weekends. But at the time, I'm talking about when I was 16. So I enjoyed design and technology, and I wanted to be an architect. But I just ended up liking science a bit more than design. So I kind of picked the A levels that were perfect for me to get into medicine. But in terms of parents forcing me, really, I'll be honest and frank with you, is my dad wanted me to start working. You have to understand, I come from a background where at that time it was just me and my family living in a 2-bedroom flat in London. And for them it was, okay, you've done all that GCSEs, we're super proud of you, you've done A levels, and after that you've done your education, right? But we want you to kind of start working and help support the family. And the average Asian household, the father works and the mum kind of stays at home to look after the family. So that was my setup. So my dad kind of wanted me to start working and help support the family, whereas my mum have other ideas altogether. So she wasn't too keen on university. It was good I did it, but she wanted me to kind of be how do I call it, a religious scholar. So my mum is she kind of enjoys teaching
Abdul Raya, the scholar. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
she wanted me
okay.
to be a religious scholar. So to answer your question, my dad wanted me to work, and my mom wanted me to be a religious scholar.
Yeah.
And I think I went against them both and became a doctor.
Because you wanted to?
I feel like I was at the time. You know, you obviously want to be a doctor, but I felt inclined and naturally inclined, as if you know what, things are happening for me, and it's like, do you know what? There's probably a reason as to why doors are opening, and I'm going down this route where I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know what? I agree, but a part of me always wanted to become a doctor. I remember when everyone asked me, sort of at the year 7 stage, year 9 stage, and year 11 stage, I always did secretly say, I want to be a doctor. I never had the courage to say it because, again, coming from the background that I come from, I went to school at Swanley School, Tower Hamlets, you can imagine, and a lot of people didn't at the time actually think I could become a doctor. So
I think you're a bit different to me. So you you knew early on, let's say, you want to be a doctor, right?
Yeah.
So is that something you shared with your friends and family, or when did you kind of? Because I don't think we ever talked about that early on in terms of.
That's true. You know what? Going back, if I ever said that I wanted to become a doctor, it was a sort of maybe.
Yeah.
It was a sort of maybe, and a lot of teachers that I did ask about doing medicine, in fact, said no at the time, that I wouldn't actually ever make it at the time. To this day, I don't actually know if they said it to motivate me or because they genuinely doubted me. In fact, the career advisory even said the same. So I secretly always wanted to become a doctor, and whenever anyone asked, I'd say something else, or I'd say I don't know. Now, my parents, I think they played a different sort of role. I think they played the role of making me believe that I can become a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. My mother especially. So I used to tell her exactly what my ambitions were, what I was planning on doing. My father, I was used to wait because I didn't want to disappoint him. So I used to wait until I definitely had the grades or I definitely had the offer. So I used to tell my mother. And I think, you know what, in terms of wanting to become a doctor, I remember one day I told my mum, right, I want to become a doctor, but just in case, I'm going to apply for a different subject at the time.
Yeah.
So other courses like, for example, pharmacy and the biomedical sciences. Yeah. Because I knew I could get the grades for that. Yeah. You didn't need a string of A stars and an entrance exam and all of that jazz. Yeah. And my mum said, you know what, you're targeting that and you can do that. I want you to have plan A and execute plan A. Yeah. So they actually pushed me towards becoming a doctor, but in a positive way. It wasn't you're getting A stars, you're definitely going to become a doctor. They had their doubts as well, but I think they were more supportive.
Okay. So let's say, whose parent wouldn't want them to say, we would love you to be a doctor, as a kid volunteering, mum and dad, you know what, I'm going to be a doctor. Yeah. Of course, every parent will support it. But, coming from my background, which we'll probably talk about a bit more in detail, speaking to my colleagues and the people we work with, right, and the vast majority of medical school entrants are, people that went to kind of state school or like public, private schools. Why do you feel we had that mentality of, even though I want to be a doctor, even though you knew you wanted to be a doctor, right? Yeah. Why did you have that mindset of, pharmacy and biomedicine? Why? I don't understand that mindset. It's like, if you knew you wanted to be a doctor, right? Why did you have that at the back of it? Do you say it's part of your environment? Even though your mom and dad supported you, where does that come?
I think it comes from, the phrase seeing is believing. Yeah. I never saw doctors from my background who went to a state school, who didn't have access to all of these private courses that are out there. I mean, I couldn't at that stage afford to go to all of these courses, which were charging at the time £50-60. I couldn't go to these courses to train myself to be able to get the A stars. I had to study on my own. At school, I had obviously my school teachers support me, and then at home it would be as far as myself and using the internet and the famous CGP books that everyone knows about.
Thank God for CGP.
They're lifesavers, those books. But I think it's seeing is believing. I never saw people from my background become doctors. And that essentially put doubt in me.
So just tell me, like, obviously you went to different colleges and different sixth forms. So how many people applied from, your sixth form or your college to kind of do medicine? Because for me, I know it was just me, my best friend,
Yeah.
and maybe one or two people, you know, the concept of being encouraged to do medicine was only,
Yeah.
you know,
Going back, you know what? From my whole year group, there are only 2 doctors.
wow.
Yeah, from my whole year group of what? 30 in a class, 7 form. So about over 200 students from my secondary school.
Wow, and only 2 became doctors.
And only 2, and that includes me. So 1 other person.
So in terms of my maths ain't that great, guys, but what's that?
So I don't even know percentage wise. That's
so 10% of 200 is 20.
20.
So 1%.
1%.
So like that's like we said. So
Yeah.
the top 1% of the year
Go on to
is expected to become a doctor.
But the thing is, if you you have to compare that now. Compare that to a school like Tiffin's,
Mm-hmm.
right? They've got well into the tens and maybe into the hundreds into
That
med
fine.
school.
Yeah, and
So you have to think about why that is. That's an interesting.
yeah, no, it's funny because I remember like at the time. You have to remember the school I went to.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I got rejected from every sixth form and college I applied to.
Yeah.
The college, or the sixth form rather, that I went to, only a handful of people applied. But the funny thing is, so we were down the road from Westminster City School,
Yeah.
so which is very famous. They have the highest number of
private
students.
school, right?
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
highest number next to Westminster Abbey.
Mm.
So they have like the highest number of schools that go to students that go to Oxbridge. So you know, Oxford
wow.
University or Cambridge University. And we're just literally less than a mile down the road. But the difference in, I wouldn't say ambitions, but the difference in what is seen as achievable for you as students in this school versus you students in that school is mind blowing. To be fair, you
Yeah.
know, these are the kids where we were on the bus going home. We used to see them, and they were like just me and you, except their uniform was different.
Yeah.
They just went to a school where you had to pay for. Yet, instead of 1 or 2 going into medicine, like you said, a good 20 of them went into medicine, and I find that like interesting. Like, you know, I could never get my head around it.
Around why exactly? But I think going back now. So okay. So despite facing all of that, then why did you sort of drive ahead and go into medicine? What was?
I think it was that. It was the fact that for me, before I kind of made the decision consciously to become a medic, become a doctor, you know, you kind of flirt with the idea of being a doctor. But
Yeah.
once I knew I wanted to become a doctor and kind of do your research and realize how amazing of a career it is,
Yeah.
being from the background we are, being from the school and environment I grew up
Yeah.
in, that becomes your driving motivation.
Yeah.
So it didn't become I want to be a doctor anymore. It just I wanted to be a doctor, but more so because of the environment I grew up in, and you know, I want to prove to people that you can do it.
Yeah.
You can be someone like me as clueless, you know.
Yeah.
I probably was clueless for med school as well.
Yeah. Let's make
But
it clear you're not clueless now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important.
But I think that was a massive drive for me. It's like once I realized, you know what, I'll be happy as being a doctor. The drive, you know, I want to achieve something.
Yeah.
I've got this opportunity. I've got more or less the grades to kind of get into medical school.
Yeah.
That became a drive, and that's what probably pushed me to go and apply and, you know, do the interviews and get into medical school and become a doctor. But I think I'll definitely say the environment and the school and the, you know, the how I was brought up kind of was the factor as to why I became a doctor.
Why you became okay? Fine. So summarize then. Let me hear your 3 reasons to why you did medicine.
So the first I'd always say is I've always wanted to be at the service of others.
Yep. Okay.
Being a doctor allows me that.
Yep.
Secondly, even till today, as I did 10 years ago, I feel it's one of the most noble and best, you know, jobs you can do in the world.
Yeah.
You know, being able to help other people. But I enjoyed the concept of that, you know, it was something very hard to achieve, so you had to work hard for it. It wasn't something that was handed on a plate, and I like that, you know, to go out, work for something, right?
Yeah.
And the third one I would say is I wanted to be in a position, or, you know, especially from my background, go and show people that you can achieve this. You can go and become a doctor despite, you know, growing up in a small flat, sharing a bedroom with 2-3 other siblings. That you can still go out and achieve to become a doctor, which is usually reserved for a certain subset or certain demographic, you know, certain population of people. So those are probably the few more reasons. You know, I'm sure there are other reasons, but I'll say those were the main reasons that kind of pushed me and drove me to become a doctor.
Becoming a doctor.
What about you?
Alright, cool. Okay, my reasons, top 3 reasons, right? I think number 1 is, again, right, I genuinely, in agreement with sort of your reasoning, is that I love problem solving and helping someone out, just solving their issue, just making them happier. And even now, you probably agree, sort of at work, once you've sort of got someone back to their feet, you discharge them and send them home, and they say, "Thank you, doctor."
Yeah.
I think money can never buy that.
Yeah.
I think money can't buy that thank you.
Yeah.
When they're just so happy, they've come in really sick and septic and all sorts, and sort of they're back on their feet and they just say, "Thank you, doctor."
Yeah.
Nothing, money can't buy that. Number two, I would say, it's so challenging. I've always loved a challenge, and a challenge that's constantly changing. I mean, throughout university, studying all of that content, memorizing that content, and then being able to just take all of that knowledge and content that you have and apply it to someone.
Guys,
and
I just remember that story you told me about that revision thing. You know how you were revising so hard one day that your mum walked into your room and she found your collapsed on the floor.
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you that story.
Bro, till today he makes me laugh.
So that story, right? What happened was there was an exam coming up.
Yeah.
Now, when I revise for an exam, I put my heart, my soul in. I want to be the best student. I want that first centile score, right? And I had a really bad cold, and I was revising late into the night, 2 a.m. And I'm revising books, and I decide, okay, I'm gonna go get a nice cold drink, right? And I kid you not, it's ice cold Coke that I had, and I took one sip of it, right? And it was ice cold. Next thing I know, I've fallen over, I've sort of busted my lip, and my mum's just over me like, "What's happened?" So I literally fainted.
Yeah. So
whilst revising. And I kid you not, I woke up, and my mum's telling me now, "Go to bed, go to sleep. You've done enough revision for the day." Mind you, this is still 2-3 weeks before the exam, so I'm preparing really well now. And I kid you not, 2-3 a.m, busted lip. I've just had a faint. Got a really bad cold. The first thing I did was get back up, put my seat back up, sit back on the chair, and open the book back up.
So basically, you revised so hard you knocked yourself out.
Basically that.
and you know, later on, as we'll probably talk about in medical school, you kind of move on and you kind of live out, and you have what you call peripheral accommodation. We go to hospitals outside of London, and we used to live together. And I can genuinely tell you, when Ams revises, my God, does he revise. I remember I was able to watch a good 2-4 hour films while he's in his room, in his robe, in the same
chair. Couple of series.
Yeah, I used to finish a series in the time he used to revise. And to be fair, what you've kind of achieved up until now is a testimony of that. But just going back, so you kind of, like the challenge solving, and you like to go out and achieve something that's really hard.
Exactly.
What would you say was the third and final reason as to why you picked medicine?
The third and final. You know what? In the same way, sort of same line of reasoning that you had for your third, it splits into three things again. Showing my mum and dad that I can do it and making them proud. Because I know secretly deep down, whether they want to say it or not publicly, it's the truth. They deep down want a doctor in the family.
Yeah.
And I was the first to go to university in my family, so I was going to do it. Right? The second, I think it's for everyone else. I want to show the youth out there, all the people out there that come from our same backgrounds, and I think sort of lighting the way, showing that we can make it, and then holding that door open for them to then come through. Because again, it's a job that really does put a smile on your face, puts a smile on other people's face. It just lights up the world around you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's weird. We come from very different backgrounds, but our top three reasons, if you think about it, they're identical.
Yeah, they're quite similar, definitely.
And I wonder if we were to just go and pluck out another medical student or a doctor, I think we'd find the same, that they have a natural love and drive to help someone. I think they just love the concept of doing something really great, studying knowledge that's really sort of complex, applying that in real life. And then I think the last one is genuinely making others proud.
Yeah.
What do you think? You agree with that?
I definitely agree. I'd say the vast majority of doctors have kind of certain baseline traits and characteristics that make them a good doctor. But I generally, agree with you.
Yeah.
and I don't think we really ever discussed how we got into medicine. A good, I don't know, maybe a decade later.
A decade? It's not been a decade. Come on, man.
It's been a good few years. So I'm sure there's a lot of people kind of watching this that probably want to do medicine or are thinking about, I want to be a doctor. You probably have people that are similar backgrounds to us, where they're from a background where they're not the most well off. Maybe they're a single parent household. They don't have access to a lot of support. What would you say, like 3 pieces of key advice, or golden nuggets, like you love doing, to those people out there?
3 pieces of advice for someone that wants to do medicine. I think when you decide you want to do medicine, believe in that. Don't doubt yourself. I think once you sort of have conviction and belief in yourself, you'll drive ahead with it. You will find yourself eventually at the doorsteps of medicine. You'll find yourself eventually one day as a junior doctor. There's so many routes out there. I think we can go into that on another episode, maybe, about the various different routes. People, I think, commonly know of just the conventional route of going from sort of GCSEs, A-levels, university, but there's so many routes out there. So I think if you want to become a doctor, first believe in it and have conviction. Number 2 is, I honestly think you just have to be willing to sacrifice. Right? Those hours of studying are fainted. You having to give up your series and Netflix episodes. I think you have to sacrifice a lot. Think about it. We spend a lot of time studying. So you have to be willing to sacrifice. Right? Willing to sacrifice and work really hard. And the third thing is, I think, don't be afraid to ask for help. Right? Right now, the world is, people say the world is a huge place. The world is actually a very small place, because now, right, we've got social media and all of the sort of internet connecting us. You can send a message from the other side of the world right now to you via Facebook, right? And just ask, how would you advise me to study for the entrance exams? Right? And you could give nuggets of gold. They could ask another question: how do I sort of practice interviews? How do I practice GCSEs and practice revising for them? So I think you're not alone, and reach out. Don't be afraid of asking. What about your top 3 tips?
The question was for you. I didn't realize you're going to flip it back onto me.
Come on, 6 points for our viewers at least.
I think the first thing would definitely be, know what you love, know what you have passion, and as you get older and you kind of realize at 18, perhaps 19, it's probably a bit difficult and you probably don't really know what you want to do, but have some sort of idea. It doesn't necessarily need to be medicine. It might be something else. You might want to be a doctor, an architect or a lawyer or a banker. But like you said, the information is so easily accessible to kids nowadays than it was for us. Not only Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out to so many people that are doctors or lawyers, bankers, and just say, what does your average day? What is a career like in banking? What is a career like as a doctor? And then I would say make an informed decision. I don't think it's something you should rush into, primarily based on the fact that you need to be very patient, sacrifice a lot of your time, and you need to work really hard, study super hard, but reach out to people that in the position that you want to be in, and kind of ask them, what does entail. I'm planning to pursue any advice with regards to there's various exams you need to sit, grades. So definitely speak to your colleagues, friends. There is support out there if you want to apply. Reach out to people online, and just enjoy it. Don't feel pressured. I'd say don't feel pressured. I understand being a doctor, a lawyer, a banker is such a a highly sought after career, but don't feel pressured you have to do it just because it's what's seen as being successful in society.
It's fun, isn't it? Medicine is just fun.
And I think if you go for it, like you said, commit.
Exactly.
I'd say, if you're going to be a medic, do commit. Don't worry about any other subjects. Don't worry about, not getting the grades. If you're going to do it, I'd say just commit and go for it. So exactly, there you have it. So there's our reasons for why we did medicine, and I think some bits of advice that you guys can use. Tune in next week for episode 2, where we'll discuss sort of our GCSE years, our college years, and our journey into medicine. We've got a few good stories to tell then, I think. So we'll keep you waiting till then.